Hi, it's Steve Carr. I'm at Embedded World 2026. I'm actually on the Meshtastic stand. I made a point of coming over to see Jonathan here. I've been speaking to Rack and I've been speaking to some other contacts I have in the US around Rockland, and they've been talking and raving about Meshtastic. So I wanted to find more about the product, more about what you're doing, the story, what it comes from, and how you plan to use it. So Jonathan.
Absolutely. So Meshtastic first got started. People ask us like, it's for defense, right? It's for when the grid goes down, or it's for this or for that. It actually got started by a guy named Kevin Hester, who was out backpacking with his friends, backpacking, paragliding, outdoor sports. And he would go out with friends and they would get disconnected, they would get apart from each other, and they'd be so far out they wouldn't have cellular coverage. And he then came across this LoRa thing and went, oh, this is pretty cool. Maybe this will solve the problem I've got. So he started this open source project called Meshtastic, and it was all about these little embedded LoRa radios talking to each other.
And one's talking now, right?
One's talking right now. Anyway, so he ran the project for a year and a half, a couple of years, and he had some health problems and had to step away from programming altogether for a while. But by that time, there were a group of people that had sort of stepped in alongside him and started working on the open source project with him. And he stepped back and they stepped forward and sort of took it over. And several years went by. It got better and better, more and more sophisticated, and people started hearing about it. And that's when people say, well, wait a second, that might be good for hiking and all, but what about, and there's this whole other list of things. So one of the things Meshtastic can do really, really easily, you have a device like this, seed sense cap, it's got a GPS unit in it. And so it'll send GPS data back over the mesh. And so you go, well, what if I put one of these in my car? It'll keep track of where my car's at. Cool. So you can do stuff like that. And then there's the group of people that say, it doesn't use the cellular network. So when the power goes out, I can still communicate.
So it can be really good for kind of like security, safety type applications.
That's another one of the sort of use cases that people have. So this ranges all the way from kind of your ham radio guys that they've got their certification, they got their toys that they play with, but they've got family members that don't. And so they'll give them one of these radios because you can use it. It's on the ISM band. You can use it without a ham license. So they'll give it to a family member and a friend, and suddenly they get to play with the radio thing together without the friend having to get licensed. But then you've also got like all the way up to, in the US, we have preppers. And they love this stuff too, because they are preparing for various scenarios where the grid goes down. And, for some of them that gets into some weird territory, but it also is like a tornado comes through. And so that's me. I live in Oklahoma, part of Tornado Alley. And one of the use cases for Meshtastic that I have is a tornado comes through and we have no power. I need to be out running a chainsaw, and I'd like a way to be able to communicate while I'm doing that. Call for help or let people know, let somebody track where I'm at.
Awesome.
And then you've also got like this yet another use case that's coming along as business. They want to be able to track where a pallet is, or they want to be able to get telemetry about something. And we're now beginning to build that out. Like we can offer solutions for businesses that want to be able to use something like Meshtastic to keep track of things, and without having to invest a lot of money into doing it. Because you can, again, I'll reach for the seed again, like $40 investment for one of these. You can buy a fleet of these for not very much. And get going, get started, and have a network of some sort.
The network and the community seems to be growing and becoming ever present.
Yes.
I mean, what's driving that? I mean, clearly I understand the demand on the technology and the fact that people love technology. You've got the communities and the like, but it's just coming up in business discussions as well as community discussions.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things driving it. One is that, not to make a pun, but the network effect. And so, one person finds it and thinks it's cool. They tell everybody else in their, in their group. But then you'll have like a YouTuber will find it and go, oh, this is cool, and mention it on their YouTube show or their podcast. And then suddenly you've got 1,000 or 10,000 more people that are aware of it. And some of those guys will go, oh, I've got to have that because it's fun to play with. But some of them also go, I wonder if that's useful for business. And so we don't market. Now we do some marketing, like we put out posts on Instagram, we put out posts on Twitter, that sort of thing. But other than that, we don't pay for marketing. We haven't had to yet. It's all that network effect and word of mouth. and it's been amazing.
So, I mean, what is the business model going forward? Because clearly this started off as a project,
Yes.
and it's kind of morphed and moved on. And it reminds me of some of the SPC type stuff in the early days with Arduino and those other things. I know this is a product rather than an SPC, but
right. No, and I want to say it is still an open source project.
Okay.
That is what we are at the heart. We are never going to step away from that. It's always going to be an open source project because it's the GPL. We couldn't, even if we wanted to. The GPL requires that we release the sources back to everybody. So that's what we are first and foremost. But we also, and part of this is the AI craze that we're in.
Yep.
I'm a little bit of an AI skeptic. I know everybody here is excited about it. I'm a little bit of a skeptic. Part of the reason is because I have to deal with pull requests. And I have seen AI, some good, but a lot of unreasonable AI pull requests.
Sure.
And so the point with that is, if you're doing it just as a hobby level and suddenly you have this wave of incoming pull requests, your developers get burnt out.
Yep.
And so we came to this point with the project where it's like, we are either going to have, some of us are either going to have to step away from it, or we're going to have to find a way to commercialize it. There just wasn't an in-between. We were stuck in between those two. And so what we've done so far is we've turned to these guys, our vendors that make the hardware, and we've said, look, we'll make a sort of a certified program where you opt into the program, you get access to some trademarks, access to some logos,
yep.
a bit of mark. A lot of people come to our website and our documentation, so we'll put links to you guys in that, and then you help support us and help support the project. And that has been far more successful than I expected it to be.
Okay.
We've done very well with that, and that's what has allowed us to be here at Embedded World. Pay for the booth, pay for my plane ticket. It's all come out of that. And then we're also looking to expand that into sort of a similar program for integrators and for distributor networks, where they also can get sort of a certified status from us. And so that's one tier of what we're looking at. But then there's also this whole other tier where we also want to be able to provide solutions, just like in the name, for businesses that have specific needs. And so if someone comes to us and says, Meshtastic looks great, but I wish that it could do X, Y, or Z. And so it might be, I wish I could push much faster GPS positions because I want to track things that are moving very quickly. We can do some custom firmware development for that. We'll come up with it, we'll negotiate together, hourly pay or a contract, what have you. And okay, you pay us this amount of money, and we will produce for you this firmware that will let you track your vehicles or your people that are running, whatever it is. And so that's kind of this next tier that we're looking to move into.
So in terms of moving along to that tier, you're at Embedded World. Embedded World is very much a B2B type engineering orientated show.
Absolutely.
So are you in that gestation period, or are you actually moving right into that next phase?
We are about half and half, I would say.
Okay.
We've got some real contacts and some real work that's going on right now. Not a whole lot of that is paying work yet, but a lot of those have potential to move into that.
Sure.
I've met people here today that have told me, well, not today, excuse me, but at this show, that have told me, I could pay you money for this.
Yeah.
You tell me what you want and we'll make it happen. I need, in one case it was, the guy came to me and said, I'm doing the development work, but this thing in your source code is driving me crazy. If you could fix it, it would make my life easier. He's like, I'll give you, I'll buy into whatever program if you can do that. So I've had several conversations like that. And then even more where people say, there's the potential for us to work together here. Let's sync up afterwards.
So the show's really qualified the fact that there is a commercial need or a commercial hunger.
I think so. I think so. In just this booth, mainly just letting people walk by and say hi to us. Yeah. I've had probably a dozen of those conversations where it's another business that says, I think this can solve our problem.
That's awesome. So what do you want people to take away from Embedded World 2026?
Meshtastic is here as an open source project, but also as more than just an open source project. It's also here as a business. It's here as a business to business if somebody needs that and wants that. But it's also here and will be forever as that open source project. That's kind of it's the bedrock of what we do. And all the other stuff on top of it is to try to make that happen and keep that going into the future.
Well, that's awesome, because I'll be honest, when I first heard about Meshtastic, it was kind of, yeah, it's kind of off-grid communication. And then it was coming to the show, being at the show, being on the rack stand, speaking to Jason from Rockland.
Yeah, absolutely.
You suddenly begin to see, hang on, there's a lot more behind this. So I had to drop by. So you guys find out what's happening. So Jonathan, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. And good luck for the rest of the
Pleasure.
show.